Every Spaniard DMR looking at England said Blasteleso. But interestingly, the one who dealt the final blow to the Spanish Empire wasn't the English, but its own children, the United States of America. This event was so painful that it's even nicknamed the Disaster of '98. And to think that a century earlier, España had supported the North American power to secure its independence, a support that was essential. So, could we say that the United States cruelly betrayed España? Are you interested? Shall we? So, stay until the end of the video. Parenthesis, you may have already noticed that the editing of my videos has improved considerably. Well, everything has a price. Especially in times of economic uncertainty. Right or not, Trump? In my case, I can no longer rely solely on the earnings from Sabah's map, but I also wouldn't want to look for a new office job. Sorry, I wasn't born for that vocation. Let me tell you my secret. Well, you know that trading is becoming more and more popular. The platform I'm using is Pocketbroker. My secret is the social trading feature. Thanks to it, getting started in the world of trading was really easy for me. Social trading is the perfect option for beginners. All you have to do is follow and copy the trades of the top traders on the platform. If you don't want to dig too deep into the subject, with social trading, you can trade with complete confidence. This feature is everything. It's like having a mentor inside the app who will guide you in your trades. I'll show you how to get started. First, sign up in less than a minute. You can use your email, Facebook account, or Google. Once you're in, take a quick look at the platform, find the best trader, and then follow him. By being a follower of Sebas Map with my promotional code MAPA14, you'll be able to access a special 100% bonus for your first deposit. What better way to start your life in trading? Enter it during registration and voila. Another tip, not just for trading but for life itself, is that we should always diversify our savings. If we're talking about withdrawing your earnings, Pocketbroker offers you options like e-wallets, bank transfers, or cryptocurrencies. This way, you'll access your funds quickly, safely, and conveniently. So now you know. With Pocketbroker's social trading, you'll start generating income safely and quickly, guided by the top experts in trading, as if they were your virtual mentors. Remember that with my code MAPA14, you'll get an additional 100% bonus on your first deposit. What are you waiting for? Start making money with Pocketbroker. I'll leave the link in the first comment and in the description. Thank you. As always, let's go back to the background. In this case, let's look at the map of North America from 1774, right on the eve of the United States War of Independence. After the acquisition of Louisiana, this enormous territory, Spain was at its greatest expansion in North America and bordered directly with the British territories that were in the process of colonization, as well as Florida, a former Spanish territory taken during the 7 Years' War. Let's just say that the British and the Spanish weren't exactly best buddies. In fact, there was a fierce hatred between rival powers. Speaking of the 7 Years' War, was it as counterproductive for Great Britain as Putin's invasion of Ukraine was for him to try to stop NATO from expanding further? Although it was a clear victory for the British, the war was quite costly for them, and they ended up more in debt than the blonde-haired lady. I didn't pay my credit card, and they cancelled it. Berto, poverty is breathing down my neck. One way to cover this debt was to increase taxes on their 13 colonies in North America. Nothing is worse than taxes, especially for libertarians, so the Americans rebel under the slogan, "No taxation without representation." Although at first no one had any faith in this rebellion. After the decisive victory at the Battle of Saratoga, independence became increasingly viable. And the British rivals, France and Spain, knew it. As expected, Spain was not going to miss the opportunity to sabotage its British enemies. Let's be clear, not because they were being nice to the Americans or defending the ideas of freedom, but because they wanted to recover their territories. As part of the Pact of Aranjuez, with the other power defeated in the 7 Years' War, France, Charles III declared war on Great Britain. The then governor of Louisiana, Bernardo de Galvez. He led successful campaigns against the British in the south, taking key strongholds such as Mobile and Pensacola, which was then the capital of West Florida. This distracted British troops from the northern front. Additionally, Spain participated in the blockade of Gibraltar and in operations in the Caribbean, making it difficult for the British to resupply. Spain also provided ships and supplies to the Franco-American forces in key events such as the Battle of Yorktown. On the other hand, Spain contributed financially with secret funds to the North American rebels through intermediaries, like the merchant Diego Gardoqui, who, by the way, was later appointed as Spain's ambassador to the United States. After the Treaty of Paris, Spain regained Florida, the Mosquito Coast of Nicaragua, Campeche, San Andres, and Menorca. A Nacho Biofian victory for Spain, although the story of its intervention is overshadowed by that of France. It was vital for the independence of the United States. Well, opening a new front in the south significantly weakened British capabilities, not to mention the economic and military support. This support was widely recognized by the United States after its independence. Diego Gardoqui developed a close relationship with George Washington, and Galvez marched to the right of the president himself during the first military parade. In addition, Galvez was declared an honorary citizen of the United States posthumously in 2014, and his portrait is hanging in the Capitol in Washington. The United States and Spain, best friends forever. Three Doritos later, in 1898, the United States had become a true regional power after expanding westward and consolidating its current size. Key points: the purchase of Louisiana from France, the victory over Mexico, in which it took more than half of its territory, the partition of Oregon with the United Kingdom, and the purchase of Alaska from Russia. As for Spain, well, it had already lost all its territories in the Americas, except for Cuba and Puerto Rico, and it had declined tremendously as a world power, so much so that in the partition of Africa, it received only this tiny piece. Such a humble little Spain. And what happens when you're an emerging power and want to keep expanding your influence? And you're throwing around sayings like America for the Americans, so you take down the dying powers nearby. Since the time of Thomas Jefferson, there were already American ambitions to take Cuba, both because of its geographical proximity and its economic value. On the island, the independence movements began to gain strength since 1868. These movements were harshly repressed by Spain, and in 1895, a third Cuban attempt to gain independence began. This generated a humanitarian crisis on the island, which sparked international outrage, especially in the United States press, which exploited these events to align public opinion with a possible intervention. The tense atmosphere exploded in 1898. On February 15th, the United States ship Maine, an American battleship sent to Havana to protect its citizens and businesses, mysteriously explodes, causing the death of 266 sailors. The press, which blamed Spain, and American public opinion immediately demanded war. One of the biggest historical debates is whether Spain was really responsible or if it was another false flag operation by the United States. I don't know, Rick. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. We talk about this war in more detail in this video, so here we'll just mention the final outcome. a real tragedy for Spain. The Iberian country had 4 times as many deaths as the United States. It lost 11 cruisers and 2 destroyers. This left it with little room to maneuver when negotiating the peace that was established in the Treaty of Paris. What an original name. The United States occupies Cuba and Puerto Rico, the latter to this day. Spain cedes Guam and the Philippines for $20 million. Its last colonies in Oceania, the Carolines, Palau, and the Marianas, were sold to Germany, since the Spanish were aware that they were no longer able to protect them. In other words, the final blow to the Spanish Empire. The disaster of '98 fits it like a glove. At this point, it's time to answer the question of the video. Did the United States really betray Spain? I can sum up the answer for you by saying that, as we should really understand, countries don't have friends or enemies, only interests. To begin with, no matter how much they put Galvez's image in the capital for their most clueless person. Do you realize that the Spanish support was an act of realpolitik? No, I didn't say visualpolitik, I said realpolitik, pure pragmatism. It was the perfect opportunity to recover territories and weaken their enemy. He did just that, and certainly succeeded. Once Washington achieved independence, relations with Spain began to grow tense due to American expansionism, which clashed with Spanish territories. Already during the 19th century, the United States sympathized with the revolutions in Spanish territories, such as Cuba and the Philippines. In other words, the so-called friendship was over, and if there's no friendship, there's no betrayal, right? However, from a moral perspective, it could be argued that the United States acted opportunistically against a former ally. Although, to be honest, in the geopolitical arena, friendships are only temporary, and there were certainly changes in the region's power dynamics. This conflict reflects how international relations are guided more by strategic interests than by historical debts. So now tell me your opinion. Would you consider the actions of the United States a betrayal? Don't forget to leave your comment and subscribe to the channel. I'm also leaving my social media links in the description. You can watch the new videos as premieres if you'd like. And have more interaction with me. Your donations on Patreon, Una Manitonet, or channel memberships are welcome. See you next time.